students. Now, please put your hands together for Patti.
First, I would like to start off with saying we partner with Say Smart Online, which is telling our clients how to say smart in this type of world. Patti? Sorry. Rina? Yeah? Sorry, I'll try to speak up a bit more. Okay, just a bit more information about cybersecurity. These are some of the common myths that I hear a lot of times. We're too small to be a target. Well, that's not the case. Most times, small businesses are targeted because they can launch attacks from those small businesses. So that's why most small businesses are targeted. And also, it doesn't matter whether you have $1,000. That's $1,000 for someone else coming out from nothing. So you could be targeted even for small amounts. And a lot of times I see, this is common, is that the emails get hacked from small businesses. The domains are blacklisted. They get sent spam emails from their domains. So small businesses are definitely a target. And it's very hard to read. How can you actually protect your cyber networks in your systems in place? Okay, some of the things is understand how you can be targeted. What's your risk? That's probably the key point to start off with. How do you protect your assets? How do you know about your systems? How do you know about your computer? What information are you storing? That's probably the most important thing. Are you storing date of birth? Are you storing people's addresses, credit card information? They all need to be stored securely, encrypted. For instance, credit cards, date of birth, tax file numbers, they have to be encrypted. You can't just store them in Excel files, store them away. And what happens to your computer if it gets lost? Can someone get data out of the computer? And also the security softwares. What kind of software do you actually rely on? Well, unfortunately, I see a lot of small businesses don't have a security software. That's one of the common things. And also backup. Backup is very important. If you ever get an attack, how do you actually recover from that attack? If you haven't got a backup that's stored elsewhere, most also one of the things that I do notice a lot is a lot of small businesses have backup, which is always attached to their network. Unfortunately, with what we see with ransomware is it infiltrates on your network. Doesn't matter if your backup is stored there, it could affect your backup as well, and then you've got nothing. That's why you should have a backup that's offsite and that's not always connected. And have some process and policies, and not just you, it's also your staff as well. Your staff needs to know how to actually protect your assets as well as your data. So you need to make sure you train your staff as well. And have a good cyber security response plan. What happens if you are affected? What's your response to it? And I always put this slide up every time I talk because this is actually important. Unfortunately, I don't see this a lot. A lot of small businesses fail in this case. They only have backups at their office and it's always connected. I see a lot of times USB plugged into their computer and that's their backup. And unfortunately, if they were to be hit with the ransomware, the USB will be hit with the ransomware as well. It will be encrypted as well. So always make sure you have 2 different copies of your backup and at least one is stored somewhere offsite. Cloud-based backups are a really good option because you can set it and forget it. It will do its bit. Unfortunately, if you're relying on USBs, you have to make sure you plug it in, plug it out. And with 2 months, we tend to forget. A bit more about what services we can offer. So managed IT services and then phone systems and emails is another big thing that a lot of small businesses can make use of. And then IT remote and also help desk support. And we do a lot of project work for businesses where it's just one-off project, go in there, help them with specific projects. And also we sell a lot of software for bigger mid-sized companies where they can't get the software directly from the vendor. And a lot of times for small businesses, it's unfortunately a break fix. So they only call when something breaks. We don't actually make use of the full services. So when something breaks, we help them with that as well. And also backfill and emergency IT cover. This is mostly for mid-sized organizations where they might have one IT person in there. When that person goes on leave, we go in there, sit in, support them day-to-day operations. That's what we do a fair bit of. And then block hours is when they call us in every once a week or once in 2 weeks, and we do a fixed hours every month. And they give us a list saying, can you help us with this? And then that's what we do. And IT consultants, and sometimes they might have another person come in and have a check through their work or help them with certain parts of their work. That's also something we do. And just in terms of what's actually included with fully managed IT services, most times when I say managed services, a lot of people think what it is. And in terms of servers and networks, it's what we do in terms of servers and networks, but in terms of workstations, like most desktops, these are some of the things that we do remotely. What we call is a remote management software. We install that, and most of this stuff can be done remotely without even logging into the computer. The agent gives us all those informations, and that can actually alert us. If your hard drive's got few failures, we know there's a hard drive failure going to happen straight away. So we can actually alert the customer, you're bound to have a hardware failure. We need to do something. So these are the advantages of having a real-time monitoring on your systems. And also, one of the other thing is third-party and also OS updates. A lot of times the vulnerabilities are not having your systems updated. Making sure all your systems and also the third-party software, things like Chrome browsers. How many people know that browsers needs to be updated? Most times it's just install and forget about it. No one actually updates any of those softwares. Adobe needs to be updated, Chrome has to be updated. And also antivirus. A lot of time I ask, what's the difference between going and getting an Officeworks antivirus and between a managed antivirus? The difference is if you go to Officeworks, you get an antivirus, it still does the job, but you actually monitor it and manage it. So if there's an alert on that, you need to rectify it. With the managed antivirus, we get a central alert, we have a dashboard, and we have set of rules saying, depends on what the alert is, to what actions to be performed. If it's something a manual intervention is required, that's when I get in and say, okay, we need to do a bit of cleanup, this is affected. So that's all fully managed. So that's the difference between getting something off Officeworks and you doing it and we doing it. And the same with workstation backup. A lot of times I see this happens is they've got a USB or something plugged in, but how many times do they actually check if their backup's running? I've had an instance where recently I walked into a client and we did an audit. We found out that 8 months the backup hasn't been running. And they are one of those clients that need to have data stored for 7 years by law. So if they've actually been affected, they would have lost all their data. So they wouldn't have been able to satisfy that requirement of storing data for 7 years. These are some of the partners that we work with. A lot of times these vendors, some of these vendors are quite big, so they don't deal directly with the customers, so we are in between them and the customers. So if someone needed a SOFAS to be implemented, we go in there, get them the license implemented for them. And the same with 3CX, HP hardware, VMware. And also we are actually we get an advisor for NBN. We don't get the internet connections, but we help you with a lot of small businesses just get the straight internet. But if you have voice, you have data, once it starts getting complicated, there are different types of NBN services that we can advise you on what to get rather than just go get the standard internet, which comes with quality of service, SLAs, and all those. Ideal referral for us is businesses with 5 users or more, factories, IT managers. IT managers, we work a lot, as I said, we do backfill, emergency support, project work for them. And service officers, TAFE and other schools are probably a good referral as well. And just a quote for the day, an investment in knowledge gives the best interest.